calling on oil companies to address rising prices at the pump after two of the country's biggest energy companies reported blockbuster quarterly earnings during the Iran war. But industry experts say lowering prices just isn't that simple. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar looks at the numbers.
Gas is expensive and drivers are exhausted.
A couple of cents makes dollars of difference over time.
President Trump showing his frustration too, but his beef is with oil companies.
Based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it.
The shortage the president's talking about comes from the fallout of the Iran war. The Iranian regime closing the Strait of Hormuz, which before the war was used to transport 1/5 of the world's oil. The day before the war began, U.S. gas prices averaged $2.98. Tuesday, it was $4.08.
Every day that crude oil prices are going up or down, gasoline and diesel prices are following. And the big oil companies are really market takers.
President Trump calling out two of America's biggest oil companies that just released earnings for the second quarter, when crude oil prices were at their highest in the war so far.
Chevron, too much money. ExxonMobil, too much money.
Chevron reporting $12 billion in adjusted earnings during the second quarter, compared to $3.1 billion in the same quarter last year. ExxonMobil reports $14.7 billion in earnings, more than double last year's $7.1 billion. Rounding out earnings for America's big three oil companies, ConocoPhillips reports its Q2 results Thursday. Trump isn't the first president to complain. Here was then President Biden after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022.
It's time for these companies to stop war profiteering.
The fact of the matter is there's a number of people in the supply chain that are covering their costs and making a profit.
Like petroleum refineries. ExxonMobil CEO points to a supply bottleneck from limited refining capacity.
Pump prices are being established by the supply and demand of refining petroleum products, not crude.
President Trump says oil companies should give money back to the public, though didn't explain how or how much, and cut retail prices. But according to the American Petroleum Institute, fewer than 5% of gas stations are owned by these big oil companies. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.